Hello, friends. Today I am going to share with you the story of a book that has changed the lives of millions of people. This book is Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which completely changes our thinking about money. Robert's story is extremely interesting because he had two fathers in his life, a poor dad and a rich dad. The poor dad was his real father, who was highly educated, held a government job, and thought in a traditional way. The rich dad was his best friend's father, who had only studied until the 8th grade, but became the richest man in Hawaii. Both fathers taught Robert different lessons, and the difference between these lessons shaped his thinking. The poor dad always said to study hard to get a good job, while the rich dad said to teach money to work for you. This contradiction was very confusing for Robert at first, but gradually he understood that the difference between the two was simply one of ideology. The poor dad believed in security and stability, while the rich dad believed in risk and investment. In this book, Robert explains how the rich dad's teachings propelled him toward financial freedom. This story is not just about money, but about our mindset and our fears. Robert wants us to understand that our financial education is not provided in our schools, and that is why most people struggle with money problems throughout their lives. Robert's poor dad was a highly educated person who held a high position in the education department. He had a PhD and always told his children that education is the key to success. He believed that if you get good grades, you will get a good job and your life will be secure. The poor dad always talked about job security, pension plans, and government benefits. His belief was that a stable salary and a regular paycheck are the evidence of success in life. He always used to say, "I can't afford it," and this way of thinking made his financial situation even weaker. The poor dad believed in saving money and was afraid of taking risks because he felt that investing was dangerous. For him, buying a house was the biggest investment, and he considered it an asset. Robert's poor dad spent his entire life paying off debts and bills. He always lacked money at the end of the month and remained in constant financial stress. Although he was a good person and cared for his family, his thinking regarding money was traditional and limited. This thinking could never lead him toward financial freedom, and he remained in the middle class all his life. The rich dad, who was Robert's friend Mike's father, had a completely different mindset. He had very little formal education, but was a master in financial education. The rich dad believed that real education comes from life experiences, not from books. He always said that poor and middle-class people work for money, while rich people make money work for them. The rich dad taught Robert that one should ask the question, "How can I afford it?" instead of saying, "I can't afford it." This way of thinking makes the brain active and inspires the search for new opportunities. The rich dad believed in taking risks, but he took calculated and educated risks. He told Robert that a real asset is something that puts money in your pocket, not something that takes money out of your pocket. The rich dad owned several businesses, had investments in real estate, and constantly looked for new ways to grow his money. His focus was always on building assets, not just on earning money. The rich dad had started teaching Robert and Mike about the business world from a young age. He wanted the children to understand the real power of money and how it works so that they could grow up to become financially independent. When Robert decided to become rich at the age of 9, he started his first business along with his friend Mike. Both tried to make coins by melting lead from empty toothpaste tubes, which clearly failed. But this small failure did not let them lose heart. Instead, they got an important lesson in learning. Robert's poor dad explained to them that making counterfeit coins is illegal and they should walk the right path. This incident proved to be a significant turning point for Robert, because after this, he decided to learn from Mike's father, the rich dad. The rich dad offered him work in his store, but the wage was only 10 cents per hour. Initially, Robert felt he was being exploited and thought about quitting the job. But the rich dad explained to him that this low wage was actually a lesson, to teach that most people live in the fear of lack of money. The rich dad explained that increasing the salary would not solve the problem because expenses would also increase in the same proportion. The real solution is to learn how to make money work for you rather than having to work for money yourself. This lesson opened Robert's eyes, and he understood how important financial education is. He realized that the education taught in school could get him a job, but could not make him rich. The rich dad's first and most important lesson was that the rich don't work for money. Robert was very surprised to hear this because it was exactly the opposite of his poor dad's teaching. The rich dad explained that poor and middle-class people keep working for a paycheck their whole lives and are never able to achieve financial freedom. He explained that doing a job and getting a paycheck is a cycle in which you get trapped. The more you earn, the more you spend. The rich dad called this cycle the rat race, where people keep running constantly but reach nowhere. Truly rich people build assets that earn money for them, even if they are sleeping or on vacation. The rich dad taught Robert that money is an emotion. People make wrong decisions because of greed and fear. When people don't have money, they get scared, and when money comes, they spend it out of greed. Rich people learn to control these emotions and make decisions wisely. The rich dad emphasized that financial education means understanding your emotions and controlling them. For Robert, this lesson was extremely powerful because he realized that his poor dad always lived in the fear of money. This lesson taught Robert that real wealth is in the mindset, not in the bank account. Financial literacy was the core foundation of the rich dad's education. The rich dad believed that if you want to become rich, you must understand the language of finance, which we call accounting. He explained to Robert the difference between an asset and a liability, which is very simple yet powerful. An asset is something that puts money in your pocket, and a liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. Most people think their house is an asset, but the rich dad explained that if the house is taking money out of your pocket, it is a liability. Rich people buy assets first, and then buy luxury items with the income coming from those assets. Poor and middle-class people buy liabilities first and think they are assets. The rich dad taught Robert how to read balance sheets and income statements, because that is the language in which money speaks. He explained that rich people invest their time and money in growing the asset column, while poor people keep increasing the liability column. The rich dad emphasized that this is not taught in school, which is why even highly educated people often remain trapped in financial problems. Robert understood this lesson deeply and realized that his poor dad did not have this knowledge. Financial literacy gave Robert the power to handle his money wisely and make correct investment decisions. The rich dad taught Robert that you should mind your own business, not others' business. Most people work for others' businesses their whole lives. They work for their boss, they work for the government in the form of taxes, and they work for the bank to pay off debts. The rich dad said that having a job is fine, but at the same time, it is necessary to build your own business. Your business means your asset column, the things that earn money for you. The rich dad explained that real wealth is in the asset column, not in your paycheck. You should continue your job, but use your free time and money to buy assets. These assets can be in many forms: businesses that can run without your presence, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and real estate that provides rental income. The rich dad pointed out that McDonald's founder Ray Kroc was not in the hamburger business, but in the real estate business. He understood that the land beneath every McDonald's restaurant is the real asset. Robert learned from this lesson that he should not spend his entire income. Rather, he should invest a part of it in buying assets. He understood that the sacrifices he makes today will give him financial freedom tomorrow. This lesson was extremely practical, and it changed the direction of Robert's life. Understanding the power of taxes and corporations is another important aspect of becoming rich. Rich Dad told Robert how rich people pay less tax in a legal way, while the middle class pays the most tax. This is all due to financial education and the correct use of corporations. When you work a job, tax is first deducted from your salary, and then you spend the remaining money. But when you have your own business or corporation, first you earn, then you spend, and finally you pay tax on the remaining money. This difference may seem small, but its impact is very large. Rich Dad explained that a corporation is just a legal document that gives the rich many benefits. Through a corporation, you can show your business expenses as deductions, which reduces your taxable income. Rich people put their cars, trips, and other expenses in the name of the business and save tax this way. Poor and middle-class people do not know these strategies because this education was never given to them. Rich Dad taught Robert that financial intelligence is made of 4 areas: accounting, investing, understanding the market, and law. By achieving mastery in these 4, you can not only make money, but also save it. Robert understood that knowing tax law and using it correctly is completely legal and ethical. Rich people make money was an extremely exciting lesson for Robert. Rich Dad explained that just hard work is not enough to become rich. Rather, it is necessary to work in a smart way. Rich people see opportunities where common people see problems. They understand market movements and take the right decisions at the right time. Rich Dad said that we are living in the information age where money is not real. It is just an idea. In this age, people who use information and creativity can become rich quickly. He gave the example of real estate investment, where wise investors can make money even without putting in money. Rich Dad taught Robert how by using financial intelligence, you can identify good deals and profit from them. He said that most people are unable to see opportunities because they have not received financial education. Rich Dad said that risk always exists, but education and experience reduce the risk. He encouraged Robert to learn new skills, make mistakes, and learn from them. Rich Dad believed that failure is a part of success, and people who are afraid of failure can never become rich. Robert applied this lesson in his life and made many investments. Some were successful and some failed, but he learned from every experience. This lesson teaches him that making money is a skill that can be learned. Work to learn, not for money, was another revolutionary lesson from Rich Dad. Most people choose their careers based only on how much salary they will get or how much security there will be. Rich Dad said that in youth, you should learn different skills, not become an expert in just one field. He encouraged Robert to join the Marine Corps. Work to learn, not for money, was another revolutionary lesson from Rich Dad. Most people choose their careers based only on how much salary they will get or how much security there will be. Rich Dad said that in youth, you should learn different skills, not become an expert in just one field. He encouraged Robert to join the Marine Corps so that he could learn leadership and discipline, then learn sales and marketing. Rich Dad believed that the most important skills for business success are selling and marketing. He said that the world is full of talented people who are poor because they do not know how to sell. Authors, artists, scientists, all must learn to sell their talent, otherwise they will keep struggling financially. Rich Dad taught Robert that communication skills, the art of negotiation, and the ability to manage people are invaluable. He explained that people who become experts in only one job often become slaves to that job. If you know only one thing, then you can work only for that. But if you know many skills, then you have infinite opportunities. Following this advice, Robert worked in various fields and learned something from everywhere. This diverse experience later became his greatest strength and helped him become a successful entrepreneur. Rich Dad told Robert that most people are unable to become rich because they have to face 5 main obstacles. The first and biggest obstacle is fear, especially the fear of losing money, which stops people from taking risks. Everyone is afraid of losing money, but how they handle this fear makes the difference. Rich people also fear, but they move forward despite their fear, whereas poor people stop because of fear. Rich Dad said that failure is a part of success, and the sooner you fail, the sooner you will succeed. The second obstacle is cynicism, or being a cynic, which forces people to think that this will not work or this is too risky. Cynics are actually frightened people who hide their fear as doubt. The third obstacle is laziness, and this is not just physical laziness, but also mental laziness. Many people remain so busy that they do not have time to think about their finances. This too is a kind of laziness. The fourth obstacle is bad habits, especially the habit of not paying yourself first. Most people save what is left after paying all their bills, but rich people pay themselves first. The fifth obstacle is arrogance, which stops people from admitting that they don't know something. Arrogance covers ignorance and stops people from learning. Rich Dad taught Robert that to become rich, you will have to take some important steps. The first step is to find a strong reason or purpose, why you want to become rich. This reason becomes your emotional power, which gives you the inspiration to move forward in difficult times. If your why is not strong enough, the harshness of reality will crush you. Robert's reason was that he wanted financial freedom for his family and wanted to travel the world. The second step is making choices daily. Every day you choose how to use your time, money, and mind. You can watch television or read a book. You can spend money or invest. The third step is choosing friends carefully. Spend time with rich and successful people who inspire you. Rich Dad said that by staying with poor people, you will learn poor thoughts. The fourth step is to master something and then learn something new. Robert first learned real estate, then stocks, then business. The fifth step is to pay yourself first. Whenever you get money, first of all, put money into your investment account. The sixth step is to pay your brokers, accountants, and lawyers well, because good advice can save you a lot of money. The seventh step is to be an Indian giver. Give first what you want. Robert has given many practical examples in the book, which show how by using financial intelligence he became rich. In one example, he told how he bought a small house and sold it at a profit in just a few months. He took a loan from the bank, improved the house a little, and then sold it at a high price. In this deal, he put in very little of his own money, but earned a good profit. In another example, he told how he used to buy assets of bankrupt companies cheaply. When there is a recession in the market and people are selling in panic, then rich people buy. Robert said that the biggest deals are found when there is fear in the market. He also invested in the stock market and explained how, by buying shares of small companies, a big profit can be made. Robert said that he never depended on only one type of investment. Rather, he kept his portfolio diverse. He invested in real estate, stocks, business, in everything. From every investment, he learned something and increased his financial intelligence. Robert also admitted that he made many mistakes and also lost money, but he learned from every mistake. He says that winning and losing are both parts of the game. The important thing is that you stay in the game. Rich Dad always used to say that the real asset is in your mind, not in your bank account. If you train your mind and obtain financial education, you can always make money. But if you have only money and no knowledge, then that money will soon run out. There are many examples in the world where people who won the lottery became poor again in a few years. This happens because money came to them, but they did not have the intelligence to handle the money. Rich Dad taught Robert that investing in education is the best investment. Read books, go to seminars, meet successful people, and learn. Robert said that he buys and reads financial and business books every month. He studied all subjects: real estate, investing, tax law, corporate law. This knowledge gives him the power that others do not have. Rich Dad also said that it is okay to make mistakes. It is just necessary to learn from them. People who are afraid of mistakes can never learn anything new. Robert took many risks in his life. Some were successful and some failed. But every experience made him wiser. He says that failure only happens when you give up. Otherwise, every failure is a learning opportunity. Robert has made it very clear in his book that to become rich, you have to learn to take risks. Poor and middle-class people want security, and that is why they never become rich. They want a secure job, secure investment, and a secure future. But Rich Dad taught that real security is in your education and skills, not in a job or pension. If you have knowledge and skills, you can make money anywhere, in any circumstance. Robert explained that his poor dad spent his entire life chasing job security, but when the government laid him off, he had nothing left. He was in his 50s, had no savings, and finding a new job was difficult. On the other hand, Rich Dad took risks, built businesses. Some failed, but some were very successful. When he retired, he had several businesses that were earning money for him. Robert explained that the real risk is that you work your whole life for someone else, and in the end, you are left with nothing. When you start your own business or invest, yes, there is risk, but that risk is under your control. You can reduce that risk through education and experience. But the risk of a job is not under your control. The company can close, you can be fired, and you can do nothing. Rich Dad taught Robert that there are two types of debt: good debt and bad debt. Bad debt is that which takes money out of your pocket, such as a car loan, credit card debt, or debt taken for consumer goods. Good debt is that which puts money into your pocket, such as debt taken to buy a rental property. If you buy a property by taking a loan and the rental income coming from that property is more than the loan installment, then it is good debt. In this way, you build assets with other people's money and become rich. Rich Dad explained that rich people increase their assets by using good debt. They take a loan from the bank and buy things with that money that earn money for them. Poor and middle-class people get trapped in bad debt. They take loans to buy a car, furniture, TV. These things take money out of their pocket and trap them in the debt cycle. Robert used this principle in his life and bought many properties by taking loans. In the beginning, it feels scary, but when you understand how it works, it becomes very powerful. Rich Dad said that you have to change the way you think about money. Debt is not always bad. It depends on how you use it. Robert explained in the book how he and his wife together achieved financial freedom. They started small, bought a small house, rented it out, and with the income received from it, bought another property. Gradually, they increased their asset portfolio, and a time came when their passive income became more than their expenses. This was the moment of financial freedom. Now they did not need to work for money. Robert explained that this journey was not easy. Several times they had to struggle, mistakes happened, and failures were encountered. But they did not give up and remained focused on their goal. His wife also fully supported him in this journey, and both obtained financial education together. Robert says that financial freedom does not mean that you stop working, but rather it means that you have choices. You can do the work that you like, without worrying about money. Financial freedom gives you the freedom of time, which is the most precious thing. Robert explained that his goal was not to retire as quickly as possible, but to achieve financial freedom as quickly as possible. After financial freedom, they continued doing work of their choice, writing books, giving education, and helping people. This is the life that everyone can live if they obtain the right education and take the right decisions. Rich Dad taught Robert that opportunities are everywhere. One just needs the eye to see them. Most people are unable to see opportunities because they remain so busy in their job and daily life that they do not have time to think. Rich people are always looking for opportunities, and when they find one, they take immediate action. Robert gave many examples where he saw extraordinary opportunities in ordinary situations. Once he asked a bank for a list of bankrupt properties and found a house in it which was selling at a price much lower than the market value. He immediately bought it and sold it at a good profit in a few months. Such opportunities come all the time, but most people do not see them because they don't know what to look for. Rich Dad said that seeing opportunities is a skill that develops with education and experience. The more you learn, the more opportunities you will see. Robert explained that he always reads market news, keeps an eye on new trends, and always remains alert. When the financial recession of 2008 came, while most people panicked, Robert and investors like him saw it as an opportunity. They bought properties at cheap prices, which later became very valuable. Rich Dad always used to say that the biggest opportunities are created in times of crisis. An important point in Robert's book is that our schools do not give us financial education. Schools teach us math, science, history, but they don't teach about money. This is a big problem because our whole life is connected with money, but we do not receive any education about it. Most people learn about money from their parents, and if their parents themselves are struggling financially, then the same habits pass into the next generation. This is a vicious cycle that has been going on for generations. Rich Dad told Robert that if you want to make your children financially successful, you will have to give them financial education at home. Teach them the difference between an asset and a liability. Tell them about savings and investment, and explain to them how money works. Robert started teaching his children to play financial games from a young age, such as Monopoly, which teaches them about investment and asset building. He encouraged his children to start a business so that they could learn the basics of entrepreneurship. Robert believes that if schools do not give financial education, then parents will have to take this responsibility. This education can be the biggest gift to your children in life, because it will provide them financial freedom and security. Rich Dad told Robert that the most important investment you can make is in yourself. This means investing in your education, your skills, and your health. The more you learn, the more you grow, the more you will be able to earn. Rich Dad always read books, went to seminars, and met new people. He gave the same advice to Robert to keep learning constantly and keep developing himself. Robert explained that he goes to at least 2 seminars every year, even if he already knows that subject. Every time he learns something new or meets some new person who gives him a new perspective. Rich Dad said that when you invest in yourself, that investment is never wasted. The market can fall, assets can be lost, but your knowledge and skills always remain with you. Robert saw many difficult times in his life where he lost money, but his knowledge and skills helped him rise again. Rich Dad believed that your biggest asset is your mind, and if you train it, it can produce unlimited wealth for you. Robert explained that every month he spends a part of his income on education, books, courses, seminars, and mentorship. This investment has always returned to him several times over. Robert also explained in the book how emotions affect our financial decisions. Fear and greed are two main emotions that control the money-related decisions of most people. When the market goes up, people buy out of greed, and when the market goes down, they sell out of fear. This is exactly the opposite of what should be done. You should buy when others are afraid and sell when others are greedy. Rich Dad taught Robert that you have to learn to recognize and control your emotions. When you feel fear, stop, think, and take a rational decision. When you feel greed, become careful because it can inspire you to take wrong decisions. Robert explained that several times he let his emotions dominate him and took wrong decisions. He lost good opportunities out of fear and made bad investments out of greed. But gradually, he learned how to keep his emotions aside and take rational decisions. Rich Dad always used to say that emotions are a part of being human, but you should not let them interfere in your financial decisions. Robert developed a technique where he waits 24 hours before every big decision so that the emotional reaction settles down. This simple technique has saved him from many wrong decisions. Another important lesson from my rich dad was that you should not fear failure, but rather embrace it. The world's most successful people have seen the most failures. Thomas Edison saw failure thousands of times before making the bulb, but he did not give up. Henry Ford went bankrupt 5 times before he became successful. Failure is part of the learning process, and those who fear failure can never do something great. Rich Dad told Robert that failure only happens when you stop trying. If you fall and then get up, that is not failure but learning. Robert started many businesses in his life that failed, made many investments that lost money. But every failure taught him something and made him better the next time. Rich Dad explained that poor and middle-class people remain poor because they are so afraid of failure that they do not even try. They choose the safe path and live an average life for their whole life. Rich people take risks, fail, learn, and try again. This cycle eventually brings them success. Robert says that if you have never seen failure, then perhaps you have never tried anything new. At the end of his book, Robert has explained some practical steps that any person can take to become rich. The first step is to honestly evaluate your current financial situation. What are your assets? What are your liabilities? And how is your cash flow? The second step is to set clear financial goals. Where do you want to be in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? The third step is to obtain financial education. Read books, go to seminars, and learn from successful people. The fourth step is to start small, but start. Even if you have very little money, start some investment or the other. The fifth step is to control your expenses and pay yourself first. Every month, save and invest at least 10% of your income. The sixth step is to build a team of good advisors. Find a good accountant, lawyer, real estate agent, and stockbroker. The seventh step is to keep learning constantly and keep developing yourself. The eighth step is to have patience, because becoming rich does not happen overnight. Robert explained that if you follow these steps and remain disciplined, you can certainly achieve financial success. This is not magic. It is a proven process that has worked for millions of people. The biggest message of this book by Robert is that your financial future is in your hands. You cannot depend on your parents, government, or your company to take care of you. You have to build your own financial security. This may seem scary, but it is also empowerment, because it means that you can control your destiny. Rich Dad taught Robert that nothing happens by complaining. You have to take action. If you are not happy with your financial situation, only you have the power to change it. Robert explained that his poor dad always used to complain that the government is taking too much tax from him. Rich people are lucky, and the system is unfair. But this complaint could not change his situation. On the other hand, the rich dad understood the system, learned the rules, and used them to his advantage. Robert wants the readers to understand that financial education is not only for the rich, it is for everyone. No matter which background you come from, you can be financially successful if you are ready to learn and change. This book is a wake-up call that tells us that we have to leave the old thinking and think in a new way. It tells us that school education is necessary but not sufficient. We must also obtain financial education. Robert's dream is that every person becomes financially literate and can realize their dreams. So friends, this was the story and important lessons of Robert Kiyosaki's amazing book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. This book is not just about earning money, but it is about a new way of living life. It teaches us that we have to face our fear, take risks, and keep learning constantly. It tells us that real security is not in a job, but in knowledge and skill. Robert's journey inspires us that we too can change our financial situation. We just need to take steps in the right direction. Rich Dad's lessons are as relevant today as they were in Robert's childhood, because financial principles do not change with time. This book has influenced crores of people around the world and has helped millions of people achieve financial freedom. Robert's message is simple but powerful. Focus on your financial education, build assets, and make money work for you. This book forces you to think, challenges your beliefs, and inspires you to take action. I hope this summary helped you understand the main ideas of the book and perhaps inspired you to read the full book. Remember, knowledge is power, but only when you apply it. So start your financial education journey from today itself. Take small steps and move toward your dreams. Thank you, friends, and remember, you too can be financially independent.